So, Ava, this new movie, Origin, tell us about it. How did it come about? How does it continue um, the legacy that you're creating of telling stories that really, really matter?
Well, the story of creating Origin from Isabel Wilkerson's cast is one that really has me almost going on a parallel track to what the main character in the film is experiencing, which is, trying to convey a story, trying to convey information, trying to elicit emotion when many people are unsure and confused about what you're trying to do. And so for me, there were many people who said this book is unadaptable. Why would you try to adapt it? This is dense subject matter. This is kind of heavy. Like, go do something else. You won't get this made through the studios. How will you make it? It was a lot of that. Um, but in the same way that Isabel Wilkerson pushed through a lot of her naysayers and folks that didn't quite understand what she was doing to get to this triumphant book that she eventually publishes, we are at the triumphant end of our journey, and that we're just a couple of weeks away from the film being in theaters. And we were just shooting this time last year. And so I think it's really a beautiful example of what you can do when you don't take no as the final answer, when you know that impossible is is unacceptable, and when you work without permission. And so she did that in the writing of the book, and we followed in her footsteps in the making of the movie, and now we're here.
You know what? You're right. It is, and it's such a big book. How did you condense it? How did you make it turn it into a narrative that could be consumed by film audiences? Because it's a lot there, a lot to
Yes.
unpack.
Yes, well, the book is a nonfiction book that has a lot of facts, figures, anecdotes, some characters that you follow within the anecdotes, but it's not a story with a beginning, middle, and end. And so a film with narrative actors needs to have a character that you can follow. So my idea was to center the woman writing the book. So the film is about Isabel Wilkerson on her journey to writing Caste, and as she writes it, and as she uncovers the mysteries of caste and this and social phenomenon, we learn along with her. While she investigates, we're picking up the clues, and as she's piecing it all together as a puzzle, we're watching it come to life. And so that was the spine, that was the idea, and that's how I approached the adaptation of the screenplay.
Now, in filming the movie, I mean, it's already well known that you filmed it in just a little over a month, traveling across three continents. Talk about that process. Talk about the reality of being on the ground, not only here in the American South, but also in parts of Germany. And really, I want to get into what it was like to film in India.
Yes, I mean, it was a beautiful process. Array is my production. Array Filmworks is my production company. Paul Garnes is my producing partner. We worked on, Middle of Nowhere and Selma together, and he produced every episode of Queen Sugar. And the idea that the two of us who had produced so much together could kind of hold hands and decide we were going to take our independently raised money and go out into the world without a studio and shoot a film in 37 days on three continents on 16 millimeter film is a tall order and a grand adventure. And it was something that I think everything I'd done before prepared me for. Working on international locations I'd done on A Wrinkle in Time, working with historical sequences and period pieces I'd done on Selma, deep research and analysis I'd done on 13th, and working independently outside the studio system with my early films, Middle of Nowhere and I Will Follow. But really was Queen Sugar, believe it or not, that gave me and Paul the chops and the confidence to know, well, we know how to flat out produce. I mean, we can be standing in the middle of the street in Delhi and say, okay, it's time to make the movie today with no studio behind us and knowing what to do, how to do it, and move that production forward safely, efficiently, creatively, and get it in the can. And so I'm grateful for all of the projects that led me to Origin, and I'm proud of it. I see it as a culmination of the last decade or so of work I've done.
Girl, how do you move past the intimidation of some of these projects? I mean, the idea of being in Delhi and filming what you were filming, and how politically that could be viewed by the establishment there. I mean, talk about being there and really exposing uh, Indian society, people to an aspect of Indian society that is shameful, truly, truly
Yes.
shameful.
I think as we've traveled around the world, we are talking about histories that illuminate injustice. And whether that was happening in the American South and the shame that we should feel here, to, the history in Germany that, they, have worked institutionally to try to highlight and make sure is known so that it's not repeated. Not perfectly, but there's an attempt to India, which is a modern society that's wrestling with legacies of hierarchy, and it wasn't easy doing it in any of those places. In every place that we went to, we had folks that were looking at us with a side eye and crossed arms. Our societies would rather us forget and would rather put stuff into books and then take those books off of shelves, as opposed to actually thinking about them, talking about them at the dinner table, wrestling with them, protesting, pushing, changing policy, and living differently. We want to try to forget. And so that's not just an American thing. I mean, we do it best, but it's all over the world. And so it's just about trying to find a space to tell the truth, to share facts. And, truth is subjective, but to tell the truth as we find it through our research and through our experience, and to share it as much as possible. But you have to be careful. Certainly in many places, we had to be careful about who we talked to and how we talked about it, because you never know who you're talking to and who wants to try to stop you. So we're very discreet as we move around, and we are very mindful of the places that we occupy and how to get done what we need done. We try to get in and get out.
The casting of this film is perfectly cast. Talk about finding are making the decision to hire Ingenue, Blair, Nisi, and I mean Audra McDonald. I mean, it's just an amazing group of people.
I mean, it's a cast of, it's like a murderer's row of incredible actors, many of which many of whom I'd worked with before. Blair Underwood was in my very first film called I Will Follow. I think to this day, he was a full-on star professional actor. I was a publicist for one of his projects, and I said, I'm going to direct a movie. Can you come to my office and shoot this scene? The fact that he came, that he treated me with respect and kindness, he actually took direction when I didn't know what I was doing, and has come and shown up for me again and again, is Blair Underwood. Niecy Nash Betts, one of my closest friends in real life. We met on the set of Selma and have stayed, very close personally, but also professionally. She appeared in When They See Us, and now this. Ingenue Ellis Taylor was also in When They See Us, and it was just, my only choice for the main part. Once I knew that she had interest in it, I saw no one else and I thought about no one else. And so our collaboration is one that I'm very proud of and grateful for. And then Audra McDonald, I just always wanted to work with her. I mean, the 6 Tonys on the shelf, like I was intimidated to call, but it was really just a cold call. I called and told her about this part. I told her it was it was one scene, 2 scenes, but that it was so pivotal to the film, the story that she tells in this scene. And when you see the performance, you'll understand why we needed her to do it. And she came and she did it, boy. And so I feel blessed to work with all of them. Jasmine Cephas Jones, Isha Blocker, 2 young, newer Black actors who just do such great work as Allison and Elizabeth Davis. Folks will fall in love with them. And then our cast that's rounded out of non-Black actors. John Bernthal, Vera Farmiga, Nick Offerman, Stephanie March. I mean, these are folks who, Finn Whitrock and Victoria Pedretti. I mean, this was a real cast of folks who believed in what we were saying and came together to shout it loud with me.
Now, the movie is about to be released in theaters on January 19th. Talk about some of the challenges, though, of pushing out a project of uh, this kind of project during award season when there are other types of films um, that offer a different type of entertainment experience.
Yeah, I
Talk
think
about finding an audience and of building an audience. What goes into that?
Yeah, I think that's the part that's the challenging part right now is, so much of the way to reach people traditionally is through the money that you spend to reach people. And so we are independent production with a very small studio. The budgets are limited. And the ways in which I'm used to Netflix and Warner Brothers and Disney and some of the places that I've worked with in the past 10 years, their whole machine gears up, and I'm used to really feeling a big studio push to make a film that's bigger but still independent, and then going with the independent releasing company is it's a different feeling. It's much smaller, and we're going back to grassroots. We're talking to people about helping us with word of mouth. If you see it and you're interested in it, tell somebody. If you think that it's worthy of being seen, share it on your social. And so I'm embracing those new tactics because they're not really new. I did this when I was starting out, and most filmmakers who've made a lot of work don't ever have to go back to it. I'm going back to it, but I'm finding the joy in it again. And so it's challenging seeing all of these films with these big budgets, and we have this tiny voice. But you know, I believe that the film is going to have a life and it's going to find its way. And films last forever. So if it starts slowly and it burns and burns and builds, then it'll be like many films in history that found its way over time. So my hope is that people see it this year and really embrace it when it comes out on January 19th. We believe that'll be the case. But we know that it's going to grow, and it'll be beautiful to see it blossom.
It's the tortoise and the hare. It's David versus Goliath. It's going to finish the race at the end of the day.
We'll
What do
take
you,
it.
that's right, that's right. What kind of takeaways do you want film goers to have after they've watched Origin?
I want people to feel like they've eaten some soul food that sticks to their ribs. And I love when I come home from a long day at work in the production office and all of that. Sometimes I'm really looking for something mindless that I don't have to really think about. That's why Law and Orders do so well. Look, you know that the bell's going to ring. You know that the chimes are going to go off. And in about 30 minutes in, you're going to figure out who did it. And you don't have to work too hard and just gonna have a good time. Those films have their place. Romantic comedies where you're just kind of it's washing past you have their place. um, but this is not that. This is something that I want you to be thinking about 2 days from now, and I want you to be thinking about when you talk at the dinner table and you are bringing up ideas that you saw in the book or using words or are fluent in another idea that you hadn't been before. And that's what I call soul food. Sticks to your ribs. So I hope that that is what people take from it. Whatever they take, just take something, and I hope it makes them full.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wonderful job. We're
Thank
so proud of you. And Origin opens on January 19th in theaters near you.
Thank you, Gil. Always good to be with AAFCA and with you.